Last na grupo?
Yes, Doc.
Oh, ba? Same lang gapon?
Yeah, nagbunot-bunot, Doc.
Ah, okay. Now, we'll begin with the liver. According to the book, there are several manners by which the cells from the liver are arranged. Now, we will limit ourselves to the easily identified one in light microscopy, the hepatic lobule. Okay? So, more or less, a hepatic lobule will have a polygonal appearance. So, most of the time, especially in lower forms of mammals, na liver, hexagonal ang kanyang ang shape ng hepatic lobule. And then the central portion of a hepatic lobule will contain a blood vessel, and because it is located at the central portion, that blood vessel is called
Central vein.
again, the central vein. And then the hepatocytes are actually arranged as trabeculae or columns radiating from the central vein. Yan yung mga hepatocytes. And then at the periphery of the lobule, we will be able to see three areas which will contain these three structures. How do you call these areas? The portal areas, containing the portal triad. So, contained in the portal triad, very prominent, you should be able to identify this structure first, which will show us a large lumen with very thin wall and containing blood vessels. This structure is called the branch of the portal vein, which is specifically called the
Portal vein.
portal vein is a large vein outside of the liver. So that is the portal venule. Okay. Large lumen with thin wall. And then smaller blood vessel but with thicker wall.
Portal ductule. Hepatic.
Hepatic arteriole.
Okay, the branch of the hepatic artery, which is the hepatic arteriole. That's the second component of the triad. And then the third component of the triad is lined with a simple cuboidal epithelium, which is called the
Ductule.
okay, the bile ductule. So those are the three components of the triad. So inside the lobule, we should be able to see a central vein, and then trabeculae or columns of the hepatocytes. In between the hepatocytes, how do you call these spaces? Sinusoids. Sinusoids are actually capillaries, or dilated capillaries, so that we should be able to see blood cells, red blood cells, white blood cells inside the sinusoids. Now, the sinusoids actually contain oxygenated or unoxygenated blood. Anong din na-discuss ninyo kanina? Oxygenated or deoxygenated?
Deoxygenated.
Oxygenated or deoxygenated?
Deoxygenated.
Both. So remember, nandito sa portal triad, ang portal areas, ang hepatic arteriole and then portal venule. Both vessels will be sending branches to the peripheral portion of the lobules, and then these lateral branches will give out branches. Both of them will eventually contribute to the formation of the sinusoids, so that the sinusoids will contain both venous and arterial blood. Eventually, all blood from the portal vein will go to the hepatic artery will go to the portal triad, to the periphery of the hepatic lobule, and then eventually to the sinusoids, to pass through the central vein, and then eventually the central vein will aggregate with each other to form, very good, the hepatic vein, which will eventually leave the liver to join what blood vessel? Large blood vessel? The inferior vena cava. So that's it for the histology of the liver. Now, before going to the histology of the bile duct, Because although you have not yet encountered or you have not yet discussed the small and large intestine, we will have to begin with the histology of those two organs. Anyway, continuation lang yon sa esophagus and large and stomach. We have already discussed the composition of the wall of the esophagus and stomach. Almost the same lang ang components. Mayroon lang slight modifications which will help us identify these segments from the small and large intestine from the esophagus and stomach. Ito yung small intestine, yung large intestine, and then how many layers of tissues are present in the GIT? 4. Last topic natin yan. Anyway, last year pa kasi yun. 4, di ba? And innermost is
Mucosa.
mucosa. Immediately external to the mucosa is submucosa. And then
Muscularis.
muscularis externa, which can also be called as propria. Very good. And then the fourth or the outermost layer can either be
Adventitia or
okay, which of the two
serosa.
will be lined by serosa? Have you opened already the abdominal cavity in your anatomy? Which one is lying freely inside the abdominal cavity? The small, so that it is lined externally by
Serosa.
serosa. And then the large intestine, particularly those which are outside the rectum, in the posterior wall of the large intestine, which is embedded in the retroperitoneum, which should be lined externally by
Adventitia.
adventitia. Okay, and let's go to the specifics of the mucosa. First component of the mucosa internally located is the epithelium. What is the epithelium of the small and large intestine? Simple columnar epithelium. That is in continuation with the epithelium of the stomach. And then surrounding the glands, which are formed by the epithelial cells, is a loose connective tissue which is specifically called the lamina propria. And then the third component of the mucosa is muscularis. Okay, the muscularis mucosae. And then the submucosa will be similar to both small and large intestine. It will be composed of dense, irregular connective tissue. Now, we will be able to identify a segment or an organ in the gastrointestinal tract through their mucosal characteristics. So, going back to the esophagus, ano nga yung epithelium sa mucosa ng esophagus? Stratified squamous. How about in the stomach? Simple squamous, and then the invaginations of the simple squamous epithelium will form the gastric glands, which are actually in what configuration? Simple, coiled, or branch tubular glands. Ano? Flash out na sige kaon ninyong lechon na ito. Pasko ang istadihan na ito last year. Branch tubular. Okay, branch tubular. Now, in the case of small intestine, before going to the small intestine, unahin natin ng large intestine. So, the surface of the mucosa of the large intestine is basically flat. Flat siya, and then it will be lined with simple columnar epithelium. And then, the epithelium invaginates to form tubular glands which are not actually branched, so that these glands are classified as simple tubular glands. Okay, the glands will be lined with simple columnar epithelium. And then, mas madaming goblet cells dito sa large intestine than the small intestinal epithelium. Because the small intestine absorbs more materials than the large intestine. So anyway, you will be discussing this on Thursday. Meron na kayong make-up. The small intestine absorbs all nutrients plus the vitamins. And then, the large intestine absorbs only water and electrolytes. Kaya, mas madaming goblet cells, less lang ang number ng absorptive cells. Anyway, there are two major cell types in the epithelium of the GIT. Sa small and large intestine, mayroong columnar cells na nag-a-absorb, mayroong columnar cells na nagproproduce ng mucus, which are the goblet cells. Konti lang ang absorptive cells sa large intestine kasi water and electrolytes lang ang gina-absorb ng large intestine. Mas madami goblet cells kasi para mag-slide-slide lang ang tae sa large intestine. Okay? And then, so flat ang surface. And then, how do you call the connective tissue immediately surrounding the glands? The lamina propria, and then there will be a thin band of smooth muscle fibers, which is called the muscularis mucosae. With regards to the small intestine, the mucosal surface is not flat. So we should be able to see numerous tongue-like projections. Tongue-like mucosal projections. And then, how do you call these tongue-like projections? The villi. Okay. And then, the villi are lined by what type of epithelium? Simple columnar epithelium. So there will be lesser number of goblet cells in the small intestine as compared to the large intestine. So that there will be more absorptive columnar cells in the epithelium of the small intestine. Aside from that, there are still minute projections at the surface of the epithelial cells, especially the absorptive cells. How do you call that small finger-like projections at the surface?
Microvilli.
The microvilli. So basically, the microvilli, the villi, are modifications in the small intestine to serve us anong purpose ng microvilli and villi? To increase the surface area of absorption. Aside from the microvilli, the villi, there are also gross elevations that are present in the mucosa of the small intestine, which are composed of several villi. Do you know how this structure is called? Composed of many villi projecting from the surface of the mucosa of the small intestine. Anyway, hindi niya pa pala na-discuss yan. The plica circularis. So, all these three projecting structures are present in the small intestine to increase the surface area for absorption. And then, at the bottom of the villi, nag-i-invaginate ang epithelium to form the glands. Specifically, these glands or these invaginations are called very good, the crypts of Libercon. Crypts of Libercon or the small intestinal glands. And then, at the bottom portion of the crypts are cells which will show orange granules in their cytoplasm. Can you still remember the name of these cells? They are the Paneth cells. So anyway, on Thursday, we will be discussing the significance of the function of the Paneth cells. And then how do you call the connective tissue surrounding the epithelium and the glands? The lamina propria. And then there will still be a thin band of
Muscularis
smooth muscle
mucosae.
fibers which will now compose the
Muscularis mucosae.
muscularis mucosae. What are the three segments of the small intestine? Duodenum,
Jejunum.
jejunum, and the ileum. So basically, the appearance or the histology of the jejunum is yan lang siya. Yan na siya. Now, for the duodenum, mayroong modification. Although same pa rin, ang components ng wall, mucosa, submucosa, muscularis, serosa. Aside from that, in the submucosa of the duodenum, mayroong maraming glands na makikita, and these glands will produce fluid which is rich in bicarbonates. Yung bicarbonates na yon, saan ang location ng duodenum?
Next to
Immediately following
the stomach.
the stomach. Anong pH ng secretions ng stomach?
Acidic.
Acidic because of hydrochloric acid. The bicarbonates will produced by these glands will neutralize the hydrochloric acid para hindi ma-expose ang cells ng small intestine to hydrochloric acid. What is the name of these submucosal glands in the duodenum? Ano? Brunner's. Brunner's gland. So that's it. That's the identifying feature of the duodenum. Aside from the usual
Brunner's
microvilli. Villi. Villi ang makita natin sa light microscopy. Now, in the case of ileum, there will be numerous lymphoid follicles that will be seen in the lamina propria of the ileum. Sometimes, the lymphocytes may even extend to the submucosa. So, anong tawag sa aggregates na lymphoid follicles in the ileum which contain germinal centers?
Payers.
Very good, the Payer's patches. So, ito ang identifying feature ng ileum. Mayroon pa ring villi plus the Payer's patches. So, for the jejunum, ito pa rin siya, lahat, minus the Brunner's, minus the Payer's patches. So, those are the identifying features for the three parts of the small intestine. So, with regards to the muscularis propria, ano nga yung mnemonics natin? Icon, inner circular, outer longitudinal. Now, we have already discussed the orientation of the smooth muscle fibers pag cross-sectionally cut or longitudinally cut. So, mayroong inner circular layer, mayroong outer longitudinal layer. In between the two layers are nerve bundles which are specifically called auerbox or myenteric plexus. Ano nga yung cell na malaki sa loob ng plexus? Na kapag absent yun, especially in the large intestine, hindi magmumove ng large intestine. The baby will not be able to defecate the ganglion cells. So, with regards to large intestine, the inner circular will be intact. Inner circular will be intact. However, the outer longitudinal layer will be grouped into three bundles. What is the specific name of this arrangement? The smooth muscles in the outer layer.
Tunica coli.
Tinea coli. So those are the structures which should help us identify the different segments of the gastrointestinal tract. So hopefully you can still remember the histology of the stomach. Kasi madali siyang ma-confuse with the large intestine and the small intestine. Tandaan nyo lang, pag large intestine, flat ang surface ng mucosa, walang villi na nag-project. Okay? And then the glands are of simple tubular configuration. Now, let us view your slides.